Oh, okay. Throw them in the corner, brother. Throw them in the corner. They're calling for it. Okay, like I said, it's hard for them to reactionarily punish this, right? She went for it, booms, we got the punish, and then we go for crouch jab. The best course of action would be to throw them in the corner. Once they're in the corner, that's when we can start to make them guess with our good walk speeds, with demon flip, with our plus on block buttons. These are when we can really start to let those buttons shine and really let them go ham. All right, so we're doing another Akuma. We're trying to get you Akuma boys right. All right, let's see here. I like the fact that we're walking our opponent to the corner. We do have to be a little bit more mindful of the fact that she does have an anti-projectile move. But with that being said, you're playing well so far. So ideally in this situation here, right, after you kind of got knocked back, they go for fireball into EX forward. Right, ideally we want to try and perfect parry this attempt. Right now, the reason why we want to try and perfect parry here is that in the case that we are successful, let's say we go for a perfect parry here, we get the perfect parry correctly, and then we can go for a jab in this situation right here. That way, once we've done that, if we are successful, we get the crouch jab punish, and if we're not, we're still put in the same scenario, but at the very least we're giving ourselves an opportunity to succeed if we do go for it. Hey, take your plus frames. Oh, whoa. Take your plus frames. You got those. Well earned. Skillful plus frames. All right, take that. There's no reason to really. It's not even a character that has like a OD reversal or anything like that. So there's no reason to release your turn there, right? Unfortunately, we didn't get that, but it's okay. Okay, so what my worry I'm already kind of seeing is that we do press a lot of standing heavy kick, and obviously standing heavy kick is liable to whiff. That's why personally I don't like that people use it too often. It is nice to throw in a couple of times here and there in neutral, but we don't want to gravitate to it too often. Unfortunate, but I think in this situation here, instead of going for a dive kick, because you already kind of recognize the fact that you'd already be going past your opponent, and in those cases that you recognize your opponent's going past you, changing your jump arc to make it so that you're closer to your opponent and in recovery is ill-advised, to say the least. So we don't want to do that all too often. We want to kind of avoid these scenarios when we can, because we don't want to get punished countered like so, right? And this is dead. That's good. Perfect parry. Oh, this was good attempt. Okay, here it was really good attempt. We walked back to catch the whiff on the throw, because everyone is thinking throw, especially with your fast walk speed. Going for this is very nice. We were just a little bit slow on it. We did use forward heavy punch, which I wouldn't say you should use. I think you should use your crouching medium punch and or your standing heavy punch, but not forward heavy punch, because there is a lot more startup there. Punishes. Oh no, we're a little bit slow. This is party time. We need to wake up. Yeah, it's okay. Hey, no need to force it. Okay, let's talk about how you want to move forward, right? There's no need to rush the game. Okay, at this point in time, we are about evenish health. Okay, we can just throw the fireball, walk behind the fireball. We can even go for air fireball if we deem it so, right? We don't have to do anything super committal and get in. A lot of players, when they're playing Akuma, they want to play fast. Let's get in there, running, rolling around at the speed of sound. You know what I mean? Like, y'all need to slow down, right? Throw your fireball, dash, throw your fireball, dash, dash, right? Instead, just play at this range. Now, the reason why you want to play at this range is because it gives you enough time to react to whatever your opponent decides to do. If they try to drive rush crouching medium kick at you, that will give you enough time to react with crouching medium punch. If they try to just jump at you, it gives you enough time to anti-air. It gives you enough time to do a lot of things. But when you try to play too fast, it puts you in a situation where you're making constant decisions, and if you're not accustomed to that, then you start making very haphazard decision making. Here is every time, this is a little tidbit, okay? Every time you knock down your opponent, you should ideally be looking about all the resources that are on the field as of right now. Resources being the fact that she has C8, the fact that you have level 3, how many rounds is she up, how many rounds are you up? Okay, how much health do you have? How much health do they have? How much drive gauge they have? How much drive gauge you have? These all go towards your decision making, and the more that you get used to doing that, the better you'll find yourself. Okay, you have to be really careful here. Right. Now, the reason why I said you have to be particularly careful there is because if they decided to throw out a CA, then you just lose the game. So these are opportunities if you're especially not looking for tech or you're not committed to tech. My question is, what are you looking for then? Right? If you are committing to the fact that you're not going to tech or you're going to delay tech, if you're going to delay tech, then that's the thing that you're going to focus on. Or if you're going to try and press the delay button, that's the thing you're going to focus on. But if you decide not to do any of those things, my question to you is, what are you focusing on? Because you can't just be chilling there and just like, haha, let me hold my hands. You know what I mean? You can't do that here. So in these situations here, if you decide that you're going to take the throw and they decide to try and neutral jump at you, that would be your opportunity to hyper focus on anti-airs, right? If you're not going to focus on making a decision like delay tech, like delay button, then your focus should be, in the case that they try and jump, I am ready to anti-air. One thing that I noticed is that we don't really use parry on wake up. We also don't really use our EXDP option on wake up as well. Perhaps there's a fear there, but regardless, we should be using this option a little bit more. Now, the reason why it's good to use it is because it instills a certain amount of caution when dealing with your opponent. If your opponent feels as though there's nothing to be worried about, they're just going to keep trying to run their offense for free. The benefit of having an EXDP is that you can EXDP. Don't be afraid to use it. Pop that sometimes. Pop that. Okay? That being said, let's head on to the next one. The benefit of playing Akuma, though, is that because your fireball is very fast, right, especially when it comes to on recovery, it's very hard for her to get that punish consistently, right? But if she's in Tower Crash already and trying to throw it out, then it's an easy reaction. So we want to keep that in mind and just make sure that we're using our fireball responsibly, especially when we're dealing with characters that have anti-fireball options. Okay. Now, I'm not mad with anything with your neutral in this case. I think a lot of people should use forward medium kick a little bit more. I think it's a very good option in neutral. Now, going for your standing heavy kick is the issue once again, right? It's not converting more often than it's getting you hit, and that is my main issue with it, is that because it's such a gamble on a situation, and even then if you get it on a scraggle here like that, it's very hard, if not impossible, to convert that consistently, and that's why we want to be concerned about it, right? Okay, I want to go back to this situation right here, because I think you did very good getting a perfect parry, throwing them in the corner, correct decision making, and then immediately you got afraid, right? Immediately you got afraid. Now, in these situations, it's very hard to convert this round. Obviously, I'm not going to say that it is. Now, you made the decision to, instead of going for a meaty situation, you decided to block. And in the case that you decided to block, after the crouch jab, you immediately tried to press your crouching medium punch. Now, the reason why this is a concern is because had you gone for a jab, it might have been a different scenario altogether. But with that being said, we want to be a little bit aggressive and take our turn, especially because she has to input level 1. Now, if she had shown you the fact that she's willing to level 1 in these cases, we can use that data to make an educated guess. But because we didn't have that data, I would suggest going for it. Now, the reason why is because when you go for it, now you have that data on whether she will go for it or whether she won't go for it, and that is the main focus. Okay, throw them in the corner, brother. Throw them in the corner. They're calling for it. Okay, like I said, it's hard for them to reactionarily punish this, right? She went for it, booms, we got the punish, and then we go for crouch jab. The best course of action would be to throw them in the corner. Once they're in the corner, that's when we can start to make them guess with our good walk speeds, with demon flip, with our plus on block buttons. These are when we can really start to let those buttons shine and really let them go ham. Like I mentioned, you're not really showing them EXDP. Now we need to show them EXDP a couple of times just so that they're a little bit more cautious. Another situation where you can show them EXDP is this specific situation. So after an opponent does fireball, right, and you see them followed up with drive rush immediately afterwards, this is a situation where you can go for EXDP. Now the reason why you want to go for EXDP is just to simply check your opponent, make them less likely to try and go for fireball drive rush. Right, it's all a mental game. If you don't force your opponent to really think about it, he's just gonna continue to just loop the same options and not really think about what you're doing, but just continue to do their offense alone. This is another one of those situations where using EXCP would be a good option, right? Because he's just mindlessly every time fireball drive rush, right? With options like drive reversal is also another option we could use here, but again, drive reversal can get a little bit finicky with the plus frames and the blocking frames and how that interaction works, especially with crouch jabs and everything like that. So it can get a little bit finicky, but the fact that you have DP can definitely blow this up, and it makes them think a little bit more or second guess the fact that they can't just drive rush at you immediately. And you are dead. Okay, with that being said, I'm gonna go over in the lab and show you a couple of things that you can start implementing. Okay, so now that we're in the lab, let's go over a couple of things that I think you should start to implement. Okay, one of the things is the fact that yes, you use fireball sometimes, but it is Aki has options like this to really get around it. Sometimes you can use this to get around it, but what I'd say is that sometimes you can go for neutral jump into EX fireball. Now the reason why we want to do neutral jump with the EX fireball is because if your opponent sees you try and jump, they're gonna try, sometimes they'll just try and react with something, right? So using EX fireball and using that as a means to get in is also a very good option, especially if they're close to you like this. You don't even need to technically go for it, right? And it'll also open up your ability to get in a little bit smoother. I do like the fact that you're using this button a little bit more. This is a very good button to push out there. The next thing I wanted to talk about is the fact that when they go for things such as whip, how do we respond afterwards? So let's say our opponent does this, right? Something like that, right? Now, after you block the first one, you can immediately try and drive rush to take that space early, right? You can also decide to just go for a fireball, right? You can also decide to try and jump at them, right? Now, the reason why we want to vary up how we respond to this is because your opponent has a couple of things that they'll gravitate towards. So one of them will be this, walk back, check with the steady medium kick, right? They'll do this sometimes twice, right? They'll do this, walk back, nothing, right? So by varying how you get in, it'll make it harder for them to just commit to an option like this, or commit to an option and autopilot like this, right? That'll make it a little bit harder for them. So in the cases that your opponent decides to try and drive rush, fireball drive rush at you, right? What you can start to do, right, especially if you know there's a gap there, is that we can parry the first fireball, right, initially. And if they don't time it in a way that is perfectly meaty and they try to go for it, that's when we can try and blow them up, right? It makes it a little bit easier to deal with that situation, because having to hold that every time is not part of the being successful. You feel me? So the other thing I want you to start doing is taking a little bit more space and being a little bit more aggressive. So in order to be a little bit more aggressive, I want you to use your crouching medium kick and drive rush, right? And buffer it. So what I mean by buffer is that you'll do your crouching medium kick into parry, right? If you throw it out and you're successful, you get it. If you throw it out and you're unsuccessful, you don't get anything, right? Another option that you would do well to implement is using your demon flip options a little bit more, right? Especially when you decide to fireball drive rush, right? Off of the standing medium punch, you're +5, which means you can pretty much do anything that you want, right? Off of the situation, right? We can go for a demon flip chop, in which you're still +4, and then they still have to guess on the situation, and they still have to keep guessing until you throw them. And then if you throw them, you can go back to that fireball game. Now, as you've seen in the match, when you go for the fireball game, your opponent does have options to get around it. In the case that she tries to go for this and is unsuccessful, what we should ideally be trying to do in these situations, especially when we find ourselves in right here, we should be throwing them in the corner and then being a little bit more aggressive. That's what ideally we should be striving for. That way, now that they're here, we can make them guess with the plus frames, right? And put them in consistently bad situations, so where they have to guess. And because Aki Particulate does not have OD reversal options, we can be a little bit more aggro. Obviously, we still have to deal with wake up drive reversal, but those options can be circumvented with like cross jab attempts or just simply blocking when those things come. With that being said, let's go move on to the last thing that I want to talk about, and that is your standing heavy kick usage. Now, standing heavy kick, as we all know, it whiffs against crouching opponents. However, in the case that we do decide to get it, or we do decide to press it and we get it, we are incredibly plus. There was an instance in the match in which you decided to walk back and not actually take your plus frames. This was very early on, and that's why it's a little bit of a concern. Now, if we're looking to bait something out, I kind of understand, but because this is the first game, let's show them a couple more of our options, right? When we show them a couple more of our options, the fact that we're willing to do something like that, that's when this becomes more scary, right? If we don't show them this, they're just gonna block the situation and gonna be like, okay, it's their plus frames, I'm gonna block it out. So being willing to show them the fact that you're willing to do this will open up the opportunity to whip punish their throw attempts when they decide to go for it, if they get put in the same situation. You see what I'm saying? So all together, use your demon flip a little bit more, use standing heavy kick a little bit less, use your forward medium kick and your crouching medium kick and your crouching medium punch for neutral. When you want to get in and kind of circumvent neutral, you can use your EX fireball, neutral jump EX fireball, which is really good. Just keep in mind, this doesn't work for normal fireballs. Normal fireballs have to be up forward, okay? But EX fireball can be neutral, and then we can use that to circumvent neutral, okay? With that being said, I hope that helps you grow with Akuma. Comment down below if you would like to be in my next video. And with that being said, have a good one, y'all. Peace.